Paramount Plus's new original series MobLand is one of the best shows in years, and it's almost a perfect show. The story of MobLand follows a war between two crime families known as the Harrigans and the Stevensons. The show in and of itself is nothing groundbreaking, and in fact is a pretty simple and safe story. You follow one mob family as they fight against another. What makes MobLand stand out is its incredible writing and, most importantly, its star-studded cast. The main character of MobLand is Tom Hardy's character, Harry D'Souza. Harry's a fixer for the crime family known as the Harrigans. The two main figureheads of the Harrigan family is Maeve and Conrad. Maeve Harrigan is played by Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren's absolutely incredible in this show and really makes you hate Maeve. Maeve is one of the most evil characters ever and is absolutely terrible in this show, but in a good, terrible in a good way. Helen Mirren's performance is so incredible at making Maeve such a bad person and such a terrible human. Not to be outdone, however, Pierce Brosnan absolutely blows you away as his performance as the main figurehead of the family, Conrad Harrigan. The main antagonist and the figurehead of the Stevenson crime family is Ritchie Stevenson. Ritchie Stevenson is played by Jeff Bell. Honestly, he's probably the least evil character in this show while still being pretty evil in and of himself. The young Anson Boone plays Eddie Harrigan, who is the grandson but actual biological son of Conrad Harrigan. Patty Constantine plays Kevin Harrigan, who is good friends with Harry and is Conrad's direct son. Kevin is also told to be the actual father of Eddie before all of that gets revealed as to just how messed up Conrad, Kevin, and Eddie's relationship really is. Now, aside from a star-studded cast, what is it that makes MobLand so amazing? Well, to boil it down at its simplest, MobLand is kind of a show where a lot of people sit around and talk. Now, that's a lot of an oversimplification. There are really good action scenes that get built up to that are super tense, but the majority of the show are just conversations between characters. Now, you don't realize it because these are written so well that you don't even process that you're really just watching dialogue. Each conversation, each piece of dialogue builds up and creates more tension for when these action scenes come in. Along with that, like almost all TV shows, MobLand has multiple plot lines happening at the same time. There's your A plot, which is the main story, which follows the Harrigan family fighting against the Stevenson family. Then there are a couple of subplots involving both Bella Harrigan as well as police attempting to arrest Conrad and tailing the family. And what really helps the show is that with most shows, you get those B or C plot lines, and they're really not all that strong. And there's a lot of weakness, and it kind of takes away, so it's it almost feels like a chore, or it's I have 5 minutes to check my phone, whenever it switches from the A plot line, which a lot of times could be very good, to a B plot line that's not as good. And MobLand really doesn't have a B, C, or D plot line that lack. The police storyline as a whole is probably the weakest overall for most of the show, but then, out of nowhere, in episode 7 or 8, Toby Jones joins the cast and creates an absolute dynamic and turns the whole police plotline upside down. Without getting into spoilers, once Toby Jones' character is introduced, there's a plot twist that I didn't see coming, and it's probably the most shocked I've been at a plot twist in years.
Name's Conrad Harrigan, family man. And if you cross my family, well, you'd better pray.
Now, MobLand is produced by Guy Ritchie, and in comparing it to Guy Ritchie's other super recent show that was also incredible, The Gentleman on Netflix, I actually like MobLand even more than I like The Gentleman. The Gentleman at times is a lot more funny, and there's a lot more comedic relief, whereas MobLand is almost all serious with a couple of jokes sprinkled here or out. A lot of times it's more physical joke beats that kind of catch you off guard and are done in a very earned way. You get an earned laugh, and a lot of times they are needed to kind of lighten how dark some of the situations in this show are.
Are you questioning my loyalty, Conrad?
No, I would never do that. Well, now, isn't this lovely?
The whole 10-episode series begins when we have Eddie Harrigan murder the son of Ritchie Stevenson, Tommy. Now, in episode 1, it's not quite outright revealed to you that Eddie did in fact murder Tommy, and that's revealed later in the show. However, when you go back and rewatch, it's actually really impressive how clear it is that that's the whole reason behind the way they're interacting. And it kind of points to another thing that makes the show so amazing, is that the rewatchability on it is so high. I began rewatching it, and instantly you pick up on so many more things. When you watch it for the first time, the opening scene can be very jarring and confusing. You don't know who any of these characters are, and while in the end, the two families that are in the opening scene don't play an important role throughout the whole show, it does lead for Conrad to say things that really plant the seeds for what the show is going to be about. Conrad gives a whole analogy to a crime family being like a tree, and when the tree grows and it sprouts, there's a time where it's at its best, and then eventually the apples need to be poisoned, and then you have to prune. Well, in the context of the scene, Conrad is describing the two families that are beefing. When you go back and rewatch, you actually realize that that scene is essentially foreshadowing what the whole show is going to be about. The whole show is about the pruning of the Harrigan crime family. After that scene, you get what is the opening credits for the entire show. That is some spoiler credits, very Mission Impossible-esque in that sense, while the song Starbuster by Fontaines DC plays in the background. Such a great song. The opening credits are great. It's nothing that really you gotta be super drawn in for, but it's enough to set the tone for the show, which is all you really want for good opening credits. I quite enjoy the opening credits. I always think an opening credits really helps the show go a long way. I think you can see that with Netflix's original Daredevil season, as well as Punisher. Terminal List does this as well, and I think this show is just as good with a really good intro that really sets the tone for what the episode is going to be about.
And we both have something in common, John. Ask me what it is. Go on. Ask me.
We've got everyone exactly where we want them.
Through the first 3 or 4 episodes, when you're watching this show for the first time, you don't exactly see how it's so good. You are entertained by it for sure, and you're drawn in, at least for me. After the first 4 episodes, it was like, I like this show, I'm going to finish it, but I'm not, like, super drawn in. And it's not until episode 5, when the big event happens at the end of the show involving Ritchie's wife, that you really kind of are, like, completely sucked in. And at that point, you don't even realize it. Then you're just like, well, now I need to know what happens in the next episode and what happens in the episode after that. And it all builds up and builds. And then by the end, this show does a great job of sticking the landing. Even though Tom Hardy's Harry D'Souza is the main character of the show in a sense, it follows him directly, you really don't learn that much about him. The only connection we even see between Harry and the Harrigan family is that Harry and Kevin were in prison at one time. But other than that, you really don't learn why Harry is there helping the Harrigans, why he's their fixer, and why he's doing what he does, or why he's so loyal. The best characterization you get for Harry comes in episode 8, Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter follows Harry as he has to deal with a problem, and he goes to the mysterious Cat McCallister, who we don't learn much about in this show, but is clearly very important. He also learns that his daughter is hooking up with Eddie Harrigan, and he goes to confront Eddie, and right when you think he's about to beat him up, he gives a great talk to Eddie, and he just tells him to be respectful. Now what you're expecting from Harry, based off everything we've seen from him in this show, where he's normally super professional, but he is a wound-up ball, a wound-up spring that's tightened, and if you mention his family or you harm his family, it's going to explode. And it's been tightening and tightening as each episode comes on, and right when you think he finds that out, you think his anger is going to explode, and he's going to take it out on Eddie. But nope, he gives him a respectful conversation, he leaves the door, and then he knocks back on the door, and when Eddie answers, he says he's going to push him off the top of a tall building, essentially. So, it's a great scene from Harry, but it's still not the best scene in the show. My favorite scene in the show is after Harry goes and talks to Cat McCallister. When he's talking to Conrad, he gives an analogy, because Conrad starts questioning his loyalty and asked if he's going to go work for Cat McCallister. Harry gives an incredible analogy where he talks about how it's not a football club, and he can't, be on Team Harrigan one day and then cross the street and hold up a shirt that says McCallister United the next. It's one of the funniest monologues or just rants or analogies even in the show and in any show. It's great. Tom Hardy is incredible in this show, like he is in almost anything he's been in. I don't even know the last time I saw a movie that Tom Hardy was in, movie or show, where I left thinking, well, the movie was good, but I kind of wish Tom Hardy was a better actor. He is really quite incredible in every role he's in, and this kind of exemplifies that as a whole. Now, Paddy Constantine as Kevin is kind of a very background and minor character, it feels like, through the first half and really first 3/4 of this season. Paddy Constantine is a great actor in his own right, but he's really backseated for the first half of the show, and then right at the end, he comes out of nowhere and steals the show, where he deals with some trauma, and there's a great scene where he's sitting at a table having a conversation with himself, and there's just a corpse sitting next to him, and it's an amazing scene. Paddy Considine really comes in at the end and kind of takes over when it comes to his on-screen presence. I really liked Kevin throughout this show, and I think there's a lot more that could be explored between him and Harry, and that's really being set up for the next season of this show. Now, Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren are both also amazing throughout this whole show. Conrad portrays a front that he is always in control and that he is still at the top of his game and in his right mind, but it becomes very clear throughout the show that he is losing it. He's old, he has no idea what's happening, but he wants to keep pretending he knows exactly what's going on and that he's in charge. And it really starts to feel like Conrad himself starts to wonder maybe if he is starting to lose his grip, and that all comes through with the ending scene of this show, which is absolutely awesome, with Conrad walking through the prison as he's cheered on by all the inmates, and he remembers that he's the king and he's got an army if he ever needs it. Helen Mirren is shockingly good in this. Helen Mirren has always been a good actress. She's very good in 1923, but she's amazing in the show. She is really the catalyst for this whole thing, as she's the one who spurred Eddie on to kill Tommy. Really thinks that she's the smartest person in the room, and it's very clear she's not. She thinks that everyone relies on her when really she relies on everyone else. Now, when you're looking at protagonist, antagonist, good guy, bad guy, the protagonists are the Harrigans. It's Harry, Kevin, Conrad, Maeve. They're the protagonists. The antagonist is Ritchie, as well as Ritchie's other gang members. That does not mean that the Harrigans are the good guys and Ritchie's the bad guy, or the police are the bad guy, or the police are the good guy. No one's the good guy. Everyone is evil in this show. There is not a single good character in this show when it comes to morally good. Harry is probably the closest, but he's the one who you watch kill a bunch of people. So it's kind of funny that he is the most morally good character you're guided by in this show. Ritchie really, despite being the main antagonist, doesn't do anything that's really wrong. He kind of was in his own lane, he was minding his own business, and then Eddie killed his son, started this whole war, then his wife dies, then everyone else dies, while he is clearly the antagonist, and he's the one the Harrigans are trying to be. You know, you kind of feel sorry for the guy in the show. It's like he is also evil, don't get it wrong, he's selling fentanyl to people, but at the end of the day, he wasn't the one who started this war.
We shake the right hands, break the wrong ones.
Well, I think we have a situation developing.
What makes MobLand great? Is it because it's a groundbreaking concept? No. It's a safe, really basic London mob show. There is nothing that is groundbreaking about that. There have been many shows before. There's going to continue to be many shows still to come that are about a mob show in London. Is it because of incredible stunts and action sequences that really make you look at the screen and go, wow, that's a spectacle? No, not even that. There are good action scenes, but they're not anything amazing. It's your basic gunfight, your basic fist fight. There's nothing that's like, wow, I'm going to always remember that one scene from MobLand. No, what makes it great is you have really, really, really good actors, a really strong cast, and really, really, really good script writing with really good dialogue and really good conversations that matter to the plot of the story. And then those two things are mixed on screen, and you have really good and well-written conversations between characters that build up in a plot and it gets resolved in the end. That's the very basics of a good story. You have characters who grow through it as you watch Harry grow more and more wound up like a ticking time bomb ready to explode, and you think he's going to explode, but he never does, and you know it's going to happen at some point. You watch Conrad grow, you watch Eddie grow. Every character has some form of story arc. Those things really are the basics into telling a good story, is when you have characters who are important to your plot, and then they also grow and change as the season goes on. MobLand does that perfectly with great dialogue and great moments sprinkled in between. All those things culminate into why I think MobLand is not only almost a perfect season of television, but one of the best shows of 2025, and I am really looking forward to seeing what MobLand Season 2 has in the future. Thanks for watching.